So we thought today would be a great episode to tell you guys about flying overseas with your dog or animal. And mine, he gets a bit camera shy, so I've got a piece of ham here, as you can see. Very interested in the ham.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. He said. So his name is Tintin, and he's 10 years old. Almost 10. He's going to be 10 in August. So he's looking great for his age. We expect him to live forever, basically. So if you want to take your dog overseas, or I suppose any animal, then you have two options. Option one is the animal flies with you, your dog flies with you. And option two is you use a pet carrier or a pet freight company or shipping company to fly them, and then it's basically out of your hands and they arrange absolutely everything. If you're going to be flying your own pet across, you've got two options. You can either put, if it's a small animal, put him in a little carrier and that can fit under the seat. So like poodles and dachshunds and chihuahuas, and so they can go in the cabin. And if they have to go in the hold, so any medium breed or anything bigger than can fit under the seat, they have to go in the hold. And that's basically what the option was that we chose because of the cost and
the size of our dog.
And the size of our dog, yeah. So when we left South Africa to come to Canada, we actually planned to take our dog with us, and we had a kennel and everything arranged for him. And then once I tried to arrange it, I found out that the Johannesburg airport, which we went in transit through, wasn't handling animals at that stage, which all of a sudden, made it impossible for us to take him, and we had to reconsider obviously all our options. So I left him with my mom, who's a great dog person. We then immigrated on our own. Now, in hindsight, I think that was a really smart decision, and I would highly recommend, if it's possible, if you're going to be doing this and moving your entire family from one country to another, that you try, if it's possible, do it without your dog. Because finding accommodation and arranging vehicles and taxis and travel and everything is just so much more difficult if you have to tag an animal along, settling in and everything. So I would highly recommend you do that. Get settled in a bit before you bring your pet over, if that is an option for sure. So then when we got here, we looked at what the options were to get him to come across, and basically in the cabin wasn't an option for us because he's too big. So we had to look at either he flies with someone or we ship him separately. So we got ballpark estimates. I think it was just an estimate quote from the pet shipping companies, and I swallowed hard and agreed for about a $4,000 bill to have them take care of everything, put him on a plane, and then we just receive him on the side. They actually do the clearance and the all the customs and everything for you. So there's just costs everywhere on that side, on this side, bringing him across and the whole thing. And then I said, okay, let's go for that option. And then they went and they got actual prices for me. And they said, oh, it's so difficult to get prices, and all these stories with COVID and pandemic and this and flight shortages and all sorts of things. And they came back with a quote for $8,000. And we laughed and said, no, thank you. We're not going to be doing that. So I'm not going to be paying. I flew my whole family for much less than that. I flew my whole family. So then I went and I looked at what it would cost for me to fly home, return flight there and back. And obviously I wanted to compare something to $8,000 now, and it was remarkably cheaper. So for $1,200, I got a flight back to South Africa and back to Canada, so a return flight. And I found out that to put him in the hold as checked baggage, so he's accompanying me on the same flight, it was $800 for the airline fee. And then obviously I had to do all the paperwork and all the preparations and everything. And that was a great deal lower than $8,000. So for a combined fee of about $2,000 Canadian dollars, I was able to go to South Africa and bring him back, and then just do all the effort and all the work basically to make it happen.
On the Canadian website for immigration of pets, pet travel, they have very thorough lists, especially for your country. The main things that were requirements were an updated rabies shot that was valid in the year that you fly. He had to have a health certificate by a private veterinarian in the week that he flew, and then the state vet had to, within 72 hours of flight, had to also verify the vet's health certificate. And those were the papers that we had to show in Vancouver Airport. They also want to see his complete certificate of vaccinations. That is important to have that as well.
Regulations say that luggage may not be more than 25 kilograms, and overweight, I think, up to 32 kilograms, I think. And then the same applies for a pet. So you're not allowed to have your dog, the combined weight of your animal and its cage, to be over 25 kilograms. And when I spoke to them, they said they can push this limit up to 32 kilograms at the airport. So this was a real big concern, because our dog sort of lean weight is 23 kgs, and he's getting a bit older. Like we said, he's 10 years old now, so they generally are a little bit heavier at that age, at the older age. And so it was an issue. And then he stayed with my mom for 3 months, 4 months, 3. And she did kind of overfeed him a little bit with too much love. So by the time I got there, he was 6 kilograms overweight with the kennel to even make the 32 kilogram cutoff that we had. So I was in a big pinch, because now I've got a flight booked. I landed on the Monday or the Sunday, and I'm flying out on the Friday. So I've got 1 week, I've got 5 days.
To get him within the weight requirements.
Otherwise, this whole operation is a waste of time and money.
He could literally not fly.
They would bar taking him. So they would literally not take him on the plane. So very big stressful situation. So what we did is we cut his normal food down to a quarter, the poor dog. And so he had just a quarter. And then we took him for a walk twice a day, which made up for the less food.
This was what the vet said they should do.
Yeah,
he had a health checkup on the Monday, which is required in the week that he flies, and the vet said, "Okay, he's overweight. You can do this."
Yeah, just so we gave him very little food, and we walked him twice a day, long walks twice a day.
He was fine.
He was absolutely fine. Yeah, and then the other thing we did is then we shopped everywhere to try and find a kennel, a travel crate kennel that's lighter, the lightest one possible. So I managed to shave 3 kilograms in weight loss and 3 kilograms with a lighter kennel, and that got me to literally within a few grams of the actual weight requirement of the dog. And then one thing that I did at the airport, which is something to keep in mind, is you got to be 3 hours early before you check him in. So we had him on the scale there, and I got him into the crate, and I had the crate completely empty with nothing else in there. And then we made it, like I said, within a few grams or half a kilogram of the cutoff, and then he could be with me for the remainder of the time until I actually handed him over. And they weren't going to weigh him. We got the baggage tags and everything, so he wasn't going to be weighed again. So I put all the blankets and the stuff in that I wanted to put in the crate after that, and that probably added another kilogram or 2 onto the crate. But by that time, we'd actually done the check-in, so we were clear of that. So that was good.
Andres also put in a T-shirt that smelled like him for the flight, and our dog was very calm.
So one of the ways I weighed him every day is I myself stood on the scale, and on a normal bathroom scale at home, and then I picked him up in my arms and weighed my weight less the combined weight, and we could figure out, and we could see the weight go down a little bit. But 2 days prior, I actually drove to the airport with him, with the crate and everything, and I had him weighed at the airport on their scales to see what the readings are, because if my scale is way wrong, I'm trying to get within half kilogram here. So if I'm out by 2 kilograms on my scale, then I'm wasting my time trying to do this. So just in terms of the actual travel kennel, if you look on the IATA website, they have a list, specifications of what is required for a compliant kennel. It's really just 7 little things, but I mean, if you go with a company that builds these things and you buy one off the shelf, then that's fine.
The airlines and the pet travel agencies ask people not to drug their dogs, to calm them down or any of those, because it makes it very difficult for them to gauge halfway through or in flight whether they're in distress or not. And our dog was super calm throughout, and we didn't use any pills on him.
When we booked flights, we looked at, there were 2 options. There were 2 carriers that could work for us. There was Lufthansa and KLM. So Lufthansa flies to Frankfurt and to Vancouver, and KLM flies to Amsterdam and Vancouver. And when we looked at it, the planes that KLM used at that time weren't actually able to carry animals in the hold. So you could have a pet on board under the seat, but not in the hold. And I forget if it's Airbus or Boeing, but I'll write it on the screen there. And Lufthansa was the one then that the only other option that could work for me. And I looked for something that had a fair amount of layover in Frankfurt, that Tintin doesn't have to spend too much time sitting in the crate all the time. And so one of the things they have at both Lufthansa and KLM is they have special pet handling areas. If the layover is going to be more than 4 hours, then they actually take him to that area and they let him out and he can walk around a bit, and they give him some food and some water. So when he got to Vancouver, there was a sticker on his crate said that he was let out in Frankfurt and he had a meal and a walk and a water drink and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, pretty happy with that. He also looked super relaxed throughout. He got here and he was all cheerful and happy, and yeah, no concerns whatsoever. In Cape Town, after I checked him in, they gave him back to me and I could actually walk him on the leash throughout the airport. And we took him outside, we gave him some water, and we tried to stretch it out as long as possible before we actually hand him for the flight. And then we took him down to a different area, special cargo area where it goes in. And we handed him off there, and I greeted him to basically receive him again on the other side of the world. So it was quite emotional, and I sent him there with all my love. And yeah. So in Frankfurt, I couldn't see him because the pet area is in a different part of the airport and I wasn't able to go there. So the first time I could see him again was in Vancouver. And when I got off the plane as fast as I could, and I went through passport control, and I stood in the normal queues. And by the time I got out of through the passport control area, he was already dropped off at the special luggage area, and he didn't look distressed at all. He looked completely happy, just sat there panting and ears up and happy just looking at me,
smiling almost.
Smiling, and he wasn't, like I said, distressed at all. So I think I'm pretty sure they offload them first of all the baggage and of everything. From there I had to go to declaration. So I had to take him and declare dangerous goods or whatever, animal import, and took him there, and I stood in the queue. I filled in a little form, and it took me about probably a good 40 minutes, I would say, for them to actually help me. There was another couple there with the dog as well. They were behind me, and
you obviously have to have all your printed documents with you.
The only thing they checked, you should absolutely always have as much documentation as possible, but the only thing they checked was in his medical book. They literally looked at the last rabies shot that he had, and that it was within 12 months. That's the only thing they checked. No, I lie. I think they checked the state health certificate as well, the one that Ina mentioned earlier, that we had to get in South Africa.
One point on that. When you book your veterinary appointment for your health certificate in that week, do phone your state vet as well months before, and just make sure that you've got their opening office hours correct, and that you book him in time so that you have that appointment right there. our state vet was only open 3 mornings a week. So it took a bit of juggle, and he was flying on the Friday. The Wednesday was the last time they could see him. So it was important to book that beforehand and know what the cost will be and know what they require of you. Sometimes there's not a lot of them around. You've got to drive a bit quite out of town to see them.
So the state vet in South Africa was, I think it was 150 Rand, so that's about $12, which is nothing. Import duties at Vancouver was $75. So I paid that, and then they let me out the airport. There you go. Welcome to Canada. So from there on the ferry, he was on the leash. He was really thirsty. I gave him quite a lot of water, but he still, even though I walked him and he didn't make a wee at all. Got to the ferry, friends picked us up. Like Ina said, the crate was too big. They had a Subaru Forester station wagon, and the crate didn't fit, so we actually had to disassemble the crate. And because the crate, it's like a shell and it fits inside of each other, so we had to undo the crate and make it fit in the car. And then once we got to our actual place, we got dropped off. I let him out, and then he made the biggest wee I've ever seen. He stood there for about 5 minutes just in one place. So I don't know how long he's been pinching that, but it was really funny actually. And
then he had jet lag. So he would wake up at 2 in the morning and be wide awake and scratch on the bed and walk around and try to wake us up. And that took about 4 days to subside, and then he had adjusted.
So Tintin is very much a part of our family. He is as much a child as our biological children. So thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and all the normal stuff. Leave us some comments if you want. Tell us if you want any specific videos made.
Having Tintin here with us has made Canada feel like home to us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.